Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Kline, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devan Kline.
And together, with our amazing team, we're going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. This is episode 402, and I am your host, Morgan Kline, co-founder and CEO of Burn Bootcamp. I'm excited for today's episode. We've got our HQ crew here. We're going to be talking about what's new at Burn, fitness trackers, creatine, and so much more. So welcome, guys. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right,
Can't
Devan.
wait. Episode 402. I'm feeling really good. I'm grateful today. I hope that you guys all have something that you're grateful about today. I made a post on my Instagram that was just really talking about my gratitude for Cameron. Like in the last 2 weeks, she's 8 now, and I've just noticed like her responsibility level just go through the roof in like the last 2 weeks. It's been a couple of weeks of growth for her since she got out of school. Maybe it started a little bit before then. And, you know, she's taken accountability and responsibility for her brothers and helping mom and dad be the assistant parent around the house. And she's really trying to like have an effort toward being more responsible. And so then I was scrolling back through all my years of Cameron photos, and we take a bunch of selfies. Yeah.
Cute little voice.
Yeah. 1,000 more selfies we have on my phone than I've ever shared with anybody. And I found one that was so cute, and it was just her how old do you think she was in that? Like 3?
No,
4?
probably 4.
4.
Yeah.
She was 4, and just like I was kissing her on her cheek, and she was smiling. Like it just takes me back to that moment where, you know, I was like super present, hanging out with her on the boat. And so I have a lot of gratitude for today. And my personal remarks were hopefully to inspire you to think about something that you're grateful today, even if it's the little things like the wind or the sun on your face. I think it's important every day.
Or Eminem's new song.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
Houdini.
I'm
grateful for Trish and DJ here today.
Me too.
Yes, let's go.
For
we
sure.
got Trish on the podcast, and DJ's been on it before, but and obviously you have too, Trish. You've hosted it, but in our new format, we are now joined by Trish. So what's up, Trish?
I know. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I think this is the first time that I've been with you three. I've done some podcast episodes with Matt and done some interviewing, but for those who maybe are new to this version, I'm Trisha Pena. I'm the VP of Marketing. And it's funny you say your kids. The reason why I'm in this seat and why Burn Bootcamp means so much to me is because of my kids. I found Burn Bootcamp because, you know, I had 2 kids, needed somewhere to take them. Child Watch was what drew me in 8.5 years ago. And, you know, here I am. And I think something that's really important for me is in my seat, I'm always thinking through the lens of the member, because I am a member. That was what I was first. I was also a trainer, and now obviously leading the way for the marketing stuff. But the member hat is never going to come off of me. And so that's what I want to bring to the table here today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. DJ, what's up?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Happy to be here as always. It's been a fun journey here at Burn Bootcamp. But on the opposite side of Trish, I came really just looking for a job, and I found myself. And then eventually I became, you know, Sally Flamehead. I became a mom and really found my people here at Burn. And so it's been really cool to be able to be a part of these podcasts and offer insight from being a younger woman, newly married, to being a mom. And then on the other side of that, now my daughter is 5 and the other one's 2. And so I feel like I've got a little experience under my belt. I can hang with y'all and the older kids, but no, always happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, like I said, we've got a lot in store for you guys today, but as always, we start out with what is going on in Burn Nation. What are some current events? So you guys, if you are listening and you're a member in one of our gyms, you are wrapping up our June monthly focus. So you're getting ready to see how far you've come, what your progress has been in the AMRAP challenge. So as many rounds as possible. So we'd love to hear from you guys and see your progress. So make sure you're tagging any of us on Instagram, Facebook. You can do it on at Burn Bootcamp, at Devan Kline. See, I get your Instagram wrong
I've got
with
a
mine.
dot. I'm not that cool to
Devan
have just like
Kline.
one name.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to have a dot
and
still.
then me at Morgan.A.Kline because somebody had my name. So anyways, we always love seeing where you guys have gone and it's super exciting to see that progress. So hope you guys are enjoying the monthly focus. We'll be going deeper into what July's monthly focus is going to look like on next week's HQ episode.
Yeah, and as always, in these little intros here, we really want to bring Burn Nation to you. That's the whole point of this. And a lot of our listeners are members, and even if you're not a member, a family member, or just a fan of the brand and what we're doing, we really appreciate you being here. And in order to really do our brand justice, we tell stories because we all learn through stories. We identify ourselves in at least a little part of ourselves in everybody's story. And so today's is Kirsten Farmer, and she comes from Maple Grove, Minnesota, Tina and Harlan Hegna's gym up there in this great state of Minnesota. And she joined Burn back in December of 2022. But before she did that, I mean, just a lot of physical pain, like as we grow older and if we don't take care of our bodies and strengthen and lengthen, we end up feeling it like physically in our backs and for her, it was her right sciatica nerve. I had so many members throughout my training career have always really complained about that being an area that pains them, and hers was really bad, and it caused her to have like really heavy pain in the evening, and she wanted to like lay in bed and just sit there and like be comfortable, right? Like I don't blame you. We've all been there, but she had a hard time with that, like sitting there. She's not a person that likes to sit, and she also became, from doing that, 30 pounds overweight, and obviously we're not really focused on weight at Burn Boot Camp, but anytime you gain 30 pounds rapidly, it's not healthy. And so after going into recovery from alcohol and substances in 2021, this kind of all compounded at the same time, right? So from October 21 to December 22. And, when she joined Burn, since then she had lost 75 pounds, but we all know it's not about that. That's just a number on the scale. That's a marker of what really matters, and that's how we feel. And she feels energized and happy, and she just stopped taking anxiety medicine and can now manage any depression that or waves of it that comes over her. She can manage it now because she has really taken control of her life through Burn and through working out. And so her leg pain has mostly gone away. That tends to happen when you start moving, and her lower back pain is much more tolerable. And she said the biggest difference that she noticed was in her confidence. And we've always really focused on that. So I'm glad, Kirsten, that confidence is your superpower and your weapon. And she's always loved her body, but now she has a family and friends and all, loved ones, like all telling her how amazing she looks. And that's like her radiant energy coming out of her, not from the dumbbells or the push-ups, but from the confidence that she feels from those things. I thought this was just a great testament to, somebody that was consumed by substance abuse and overeating and depression, and used fitness to get out of it. Used fitness as the catalyst, as the tool to wake up and have an awakening and walking into Burn that one day, like you were saying, Trish and DJ and Morgan, you've also had those instances of your life as well. And I think this was one of the greatest compliments that we could give to her, is to share her story here on the podcast today, especially, as someone who has suffered with mental health. We see you, and, we are so happy that you're on the other side of this now, kicking butt.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of the non-scale victories, but also scale victories. Because like you said, she lost 45 pounds, but look at all the other things that it was measurable in her life that she could say, because she started putting herself first. And I think there's so many stories out there that, have the non-scale victories that people don't feel are worthy of talking about. Yeah. So I know for me, I've lost weight, but it's mostly because I gained weight through pregnancy. So I haven't had like this crazy transformation, but I've done so many things in the last 10 years that a scale cannot measure, a measuring tape cannot measure, a body fat machine cannot measure. And I think that's really cool. What about you guys? Have you had any non-scale victories with your journey at Burn?
I definitely have. I mean, I can relate to Kirsten's story of just finding confidence. I mean, when I came to Burn, I had just had 2 kids. under 2, 18 months apart. And I was like, I lost all my identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. And I came to burn one. And I think we see this with a lot of our members and just a lot of people in general looking to find fitness because they think that they're going to feel better if they lose weight, right? Like, I'm like, I just need to shed this baby weight.
Yep.
But then what we are hearing from the story, and I'm so thankful that she's sharing this because I know it's going to resonate with some other people. She came to feel better about her body, but then what she found was that confidence. And that's the story that we're telling about our brand. And what's so important and what sets us apart from everyone else is what you do on the floating floor transcends the 4 walls. We talk about that so much in our marketing efforts because it's so true and it's authentic to who we are and what our members feel from us. And I think I, didn't have sciatic pain, but I can just only relate to her from the mental health side of things. And I think a lot of new moms can also feel that way.
Yeah.
So that would be mine, is very similar to her story.
Yeah.
What about you, DJ?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, when I came in, I was 21 years old and had been going on and off with an eating disorder. And so I really found myself gaining a lot of muscle and being like confident in that and not thinking that I was bulky or whatever. And I was doing things that I never thought I would have been able to do. And I mean, as most people with an eating disorder know, you're in the gym day in and day out. I spent more time in the gym during my college years than I did here, but I was feeling stronger and feeling better here. And then I started to feel more like myself. I felt myself become healthier, and then the confidence just is there. And then obviously, you have kids and then you go through that whole ebb and flow. And so it gets really tricky, but I definitely have had those. And I think it's really cool here that she doesn't talk about the weight. She talks about the non-scale victory, and she says that she's always loved her body, but the biggest compliment that she got was other people telling her how happy she looked. And I've got goosebumps. That's so incredible. And that the fact that she even noticed that too, it wasn't, everybody's telling me I look great and that's awesome. Yeah. No, people are telling me I look happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And as a trainer, you always see, I kind of see the inputs into our body, into our being as 2 separate energies. Like there's this, to put it clearly for people, there's this negative energy and there's this positive energy. And the negative energy is what's going to cloud you. It's what's going to distance you. It's what's going to make you succumb to societal pressures more easily. It's going to be obviously everything that's not good for you, negative. So alcohol, drugs, sugar, laying around, just those negative inputs, versus the positive inputs are the movement and the connection with the community and the food choices and, all of the obvious positive things. Right. And when people will notice the negative and they won't say much to you, because of fear of maybe losing your friendship or your love or, your best friends. They're your best friends when they actually notice the negative energy in you and tell you, hey, we got to do something about this. Yeah. Right. But on the other side, when you do start transforming, what you're really doing is transforming your energy, right? Your energy from negative to positive inputs. And whatever you put into your body, you're going to give out and you're going to radiate. And that positive energy from movement and overcoming your self-limiting beliefs on a daily basis, whether it's doubt or guilt or shame, people start to radiate and have this visible weight lifted off of them that other people notice. And so that's what stuck out to me too, DJ, was the fact that she looks happy, looking happy, right? There's a perception that other people have of her now that she is taking control of her own life. And that inevitably then rubs off on other people. And you become a positive outlet of energy for those around you. And that's Burn Nation in a nutshell of how it continues just to perpetuate over and over and over.
Yeah. Great job, Kirsten. Thanks for sharing with us, and keep moving yourself forward. And we're cheering you on. And for those of you that are listening that want to share your story with us and want it to be featured on the podcast, just tag us. We are constantly looking to bring your story into Burn Nation to inspire other people. So, all right, we're going to move on to our first member Q&A. So we have a question from Sarah at our Harrisburg, North Carolina location. She says, thinking back to the beginning, through all the growing pains, the pandemic, etc., what has motivated you the most to keep pushing forward? So I think this is a great question for all of us, because we all go through hard times or, growing pains in life and in your career, in your job, in motherhood. And so I think we can all take a moment to answer this question from each of our perspectives. But I think I'll start with what has motivated me to push forward is is our mission. You know, it always goes back to our mission. It's super powerful, and it was well intended when we created it back in the early days. And it's really what motivates me to move forward is the people around me. So starting with my children first, then my headquarter team, you know, all of the people that I feel responsible for, and then our franchise partners and down to the members. And I think we're all really lucky in the seats that we sit in at Burn Boot Camp that we get to hear those stories like we just talked about. We get to hear the positive feedback loop of the work that we do day in and day out, whether it's hard or not, and how it impacts people in a positive way. And not every career gets that. Not every, you know, person gets to experience that type of fulfillment. And so I can think about the pandemic, especially. Failure's not an option for me. And I think that's all of our mindset, but failure wasn't an option. So there was really no choice to keep moving through the hard times. But I can remember, especially during the pandemic, feeling like we've got to be there for people. We've got to help be their leaders. We've got to show up for them because they're isolated right now. So many people are hurting. So many people are scared. How can I put that aside for myself for a little bit of being scared and just show up for other people? So thank you guys for listening and for being a part of this, because that's what truly motivates me to keep moving.
Yeah, Trish, I'd like to hear your perspective, because you've had so many roles from member now to VP of marketing. And when that time came, when I remember we were all sitting in this studio, we had to make the decision to shut down 275 gyms at one time. What was your perspective when we had to make that call?
I think we couldn't let Burn Nation down, right? And I think, again, always putting on my member hat, what can we do to then still provide what we know our members needed? And that was when, you know, we went live. The studio became the studio. Yeah. But then also with Lake Norman, the Lake Norman team, I was actually working, I was a trainer at Lake Norman at the time, but then I was also doing the marketing for all of our HQ gyms. So we have 9 HQ gyms, and one of them is Lake Norman. And I remember sitting with Bryce and Matt at the time. Matt Morris was our head trainer. And I was like, I think you guys need to start doing YouTube workouts. And I remember him, and if he was sitting right here, I would have the same conversation. He was not excited about it, but now look at him. Yeah. I mean, he's like the king of on camera, workouts, and he's so good at it. So it's interesting, like when you're in that moment of like, I am one of those people that I get really, the pandemic was a very hard time. So I don't want this to come across any way of like making it feel like it was okay, but I get motivated during those times where I'm like, we can't give up. Similar to you, failure is not an option. So we're uncomfortable. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to move forward? And then I think that also inspired me, because at the time I was not on the HQ team. It really gave me a time to step back and think like, what do I want to do? Like this is a moment for me to like step up and show what I can bring to the table, and how I really want to then use this as a propelling moment for my career. And I think I did do that. I mean, that was 3 years ago. And now here 3 years later, I'm sitting at the VP of marketing seat. And so I just think that, you have to take moments in time that are really maybe a tragic moment and they're a low point, but like, how can you make the most of them and use them to like kind of almost manifest what you want to bring into this world? Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really great point that you make, because you showed the dedication during the hard times. It's easy to be like, I'm just going to sit back and let other people lead and I'll just follow. Yeah. But if you can attach yourself to that dedication and coming together with people that desperately need it, because, the people that hung on to Devan and I during that time are our people. And that's when you really find that out. And so whether that is your career or if someone's going through a hard time, don't run away. Like run towards them if you're committed to them and to that mission.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think for me, it was really just the fact that like nothing's guaranteed. You're sitting here, we're kind of on top of the world. And then all of a sudden the whole world, everybody is on the same level. And now everybody's trying to figure out, how do we move forward? What do we do? And so I think in those moments, it's not only, all right, I've got the dedication, we're going to push through, but it was also looking day by day, because then your day was just flipped on its end. And it was like, okay, what are the little things that I can enjoy too, to help keep you moving? It's like, oh man, I love waking up to my daughter's in my bed, snuggling with me, man, that motivates me. And so it's thinking of these little things in your day. Like Devan was saying earlier, what are the simple joys, the wind, the air, the sunshine on your face? Like, how does that then pour into your day to day and motivate you to keep going? And I think the pandemic really just kind of brought everybody down a peg to where they kind of had to. And it was, again, like, you don't want to make it sound like it wasn't a hard time, but I was very grateful for that, because you just, sometimes you do get lost in your day to day. So
in the absence of gratitude, you don't have control over your joy. And during that whole time, I think there was this residual depression, this wave of depression and anxiety and of shame because of the lack of enjoyment, because there wasn't a conditioning mentally to actually show gratitude collectively. I'm just speaking in generalities. But this is what I think happens, is that when you don't have gratitude as a daily practice, you forget how to enjoy things that aren't so obvious. And then when tough times really hit, almost nothing feels good. So to Trisha's point, you've got to like actually manufacture your perspective, use the faculty of your mind to use your perspective to manufacture a new truth for that moment, a new personal truth. And, after we close 275 gyms, I go home and have the best workout of my life. And I can make a long story short, but a wave of, I don't know where it came from, the universe, God, it came over me and it said, this is going to be the best time this is going to be the time you need to set burn apart. Like, it's go time. Like this might be the worst day if you allow it to be the worst day, but you don't allow things to happen to you. You allow things to happen for you. So therefore, this is the best day. How can we make it the best day? And then you start, even if it isn't true, it's your personal truth, which is different than an objective truth. And an objective truth is driven in science, and your personal truth is driven by your belief and your perspective, or some people call it fate. So it was a moment of inspiration for me. So your question, Sarah, was like, what has motivated you to keep pushing forward during this tough time? And it was like, it wasn't motivation. That's my answer. It was inspiration. It was from the gratitude that I already have from waking up and conditioning myself like that over and over and over. And there was a period of time where I wasn't grateful, and ego did rule my life. And I couldn't say the words that I'm saying today, but inspiration is something that you earn. To inspire other people is something that you earn. And so for, around a decade of work went into building the trust that, to Morgan's point, when people look for a leader in the toughest times, even leaders look for leaders in the toughest times. And if you've done your job and you've created trust by ascending to the highest version of yourself you can possibly ascend to, or strive for that, now you have trust and people will look at you in the moment. We went live to the system. We said, we're going to hold the line, you guys. And it was just our battle cry. And the entire franchise partner network cascaded that message down to their teams cascaded it down to their members. And the most important thing is all four of us, including the rest of HQ, we backed it up with action. We didn't let our word just kind of go out into the universe without coming up behind it with instant, massive, and productive action. So yeah, pushing forward during those times doesn't happen unless you are anticipating the tough time to begin with.
Yeah. And I know we all talked a lot about the pandemic time, but we've gone through so many growing pains as an organization. Even this past 12 months, I've gone through growing pains in parts of our business because we are growing quickly. And so I think I just want to summarize what we've all kind of said is we all are going to have challenges in life, and it's about who you can surround yourself with. Because like Devan said, if you're surrounded by people that are negative and aren't bringing you joy too, and that can pull you up, then that's going to be your mindset as well. And if you have a poor mindset, you're not going to be able to see the perspective and the joy and the gratitude out of this lesson that's life has given you, because all the failures and all the growing pains are really just lessons to give you the confidence to know you're going to get through the next one that's going to come your way. So surround yourself with good people, have a good perspective on the lesson, and know that it's just a season of life. It's just a season as long as you let it be just a season. And, to get over it, you just got to get through it. And just when you have the right people, it's much, much easier. So
Ooh, I like
thanks
it.
for being my
know.
people.
I like that little preach there.
Yeah.
To
That
get over, you got to
was.
get through it. I'm going to tweet that.
Okay, we are moving on to our first health and fitness headline. So, guys, are fitness trackers worth the hype? So we've got an article here. DJ's going to summarize for us, but I can't wait to talk about this because I've definitely tried my fair share of fitness trackers.
Yeah, same. Time.com, best fitness trackers to hack your health. I don't know if we're necessarily hacking our health with a fitness tracker.
That's for just clicks. That's the headline.
I
That's
know.
like,
I
hey,
know.
click me, hack.
But it basically just boils it down to a couple of different categories. It's how do I use this fitness tracker? How much can you afford to spend? Because some of them are pretty pricey. And it seems like there's a new one coming out twice a year. And so then trying to figure out which one's the best for you. And do they care about fashion or just the formality of the fitness tracker? How does it charge? It's breaking everything down. But I think really it's culminating all of the things that all of us are always wondering too, especially in the fitness industry, is do they work? Is one better than the other? Do we think that they're necessary? Is it really helping us with our goals? Or is it just another thing that we're adding to the list that makes us feel like we're actually doing something? But in reality, it's just another one of those mental loops that you find yourself on.
Well, I'll share first my thoughts on fitness trackers because, like I said, I've tried a lot, and I think it's all about it's just a tool. So it's just one tool. It is not going to be the silver bullet of getting you healthy. It's not going to be the hack that gets you where you want to go. It's just a tool, and so what you're going to do with that tool is really up to you. I'm sure there are some that are better than others from an accuracy standpoint, but I can go all the way back to about 10 years ago. My first fitness tracker was a Garmin. And it tracked my calories and my steps.
Man.
And I can remember being hyper obsessed with how many calories it said that I burned. And it was when I was in the height of being a trainer. So I was training like 38 camps a week. And by like 7 a.m., I'd done all the morning camps. And like I had a goal to hit, how many calories I've burned by then. And then I'd make sure I didn't eat more than that, so I was in this deficit, and it was an obsession for me. And so I've talked a lot about that in previous podcasts and stuff like that. And so for me at that time, it was not a healthy device for me. It wasn't a healthy tool because I was obsessive over it. And so I remember taking a pretty long break from a fitness tracker. And then the next one I picked up was the Whoop because we were considering partnering with Whoop. And so I remember they gave me a free one, and I just didn't like something on my wrist all the time. That was a little bit of like a superficial reason why I didn't like it, but I wasn't really doing much with the data. And then I've tried the Oura Ring, and I did like that one because it was on my finger. I felt like it was a lot more comfortable to sleep with and stuff like that. And I will say the data I got out of that was my sleep cycles. And so I learned a lot about how good I was sleeping. And so, but I still found myself saying, okay, well, I woke up and it said I have bad sleep or my recovery is bad, but I'm not doing anything about it. I'm not changing my nighttime routine. I'm not working out because I didn't like the thought of waking up and a device telling me, hey, you should take it easy today. It's just not wired in me. So it felt counterintuitive to me doing things for myself. I felt like if I did go to the gym on those days, then I was doing something wrong for my body. So that's my experience with it. And so I don't use fitness trackers currently, not to say I won't ever. But I think it's all about just what you do with the data. Are you willing to change things? Is that why you're doing it? Or is it an obsession that's not healthy?
Yeah, I actually can just tap into that because my experience is very similar to yours. I got hung up on the calorie tracker. It was right after I had my kids. I literally just started at burn. I think I had an Apple Watch was my first device, wearable, if you will. And I was only focused on the calories and how many calories I was intaking and making sure I wasn't overeating. And then it was this mental battle. So for me, it was a mental game of just, I finally actually, after I had my third kid, so I wore it for a while and I was obsessed about making sure I'd wear it to camp and start it, right? And I'd be so mad if I forgot to start my workout. But then after I had Jagger, my third, who's now 3, I actually stopped wearing it because I wanted to go into postpartum recovery just listening to my body and like really focus on my mental health and not about, how many calories I was burning. Cause I was, breastfeeding at the time and I needed to eat and I didn't want to have to worry about any of that. I had 2 older kids. Like I was busy also working a full-time job. I didn't need the extra noise in my head. So really mental health was the name of the game for me. But then as I kind of got back into it, I actually just now started wearing my Apple Watch a little bit more. I'm a big runner. I love to run. I also have been putting my watch on sometimes for camps only to track my heart rate. So for me, I think this is where you kind of have to figure out what works for you. Like I don't pay attention to the calories. I pay attention to my heart rate because then I know during a run, I also time myself. So if I push my pace and then I also look at my heart rate because for me, that's actually something that's accurate that it's tracking on me. So I can look to see like, hey, did I actually push myself to the best that I could have in that camp? Did I leave a little bit on the table or in that run? So that's where now I'm at where it's like, okay, I'm mentally strong enough to know like, this is what I don't want to focus on, but I do just because I'm a competitive with myself. It's always me versus me. And I always want to push myself a little bit more. So that's kind of where I'm at in the wearable space.
Yeah. That's good.
DJ Devan?
Yeah, for sure. I do the same thing. Like I'll wear it in like phases. So right now I'm just doing it to count my steps to see like, okay, on average, roughly, if I know I'm moving about this much throughout the day, then I'm going to hit like 10,000 steps. Because I've got 2 young kids, I'm active. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I know what this feels like. And then I can take it off and then I can just go about that and make sure that that's a part of my daily routine. But one thing that I do really like about the Oura Ring, and I think that's why a lot of other women specifically really enjoy it, is because it helps with tracking your cycles. Cycles. Oh, that's and with a lot of people who are now like this big birth control exodus, so many people are stopping taking it because it's messing with your hormones, to be able to track that. And it's your basal body temperature and you can only track it like first thing in the morning. It's kind of a pain in the butt to be able to track it manually. And so that's the one thing that I think would potentially draw me to that. But then eventually over time, I feel like I would just not want to wear it anymore.
That's kind of how I was. It faded, but I think there's good things about it too. Some people that do need that accountability, or close the rings, it can motivate you as long as it's healthy. Yep. So.
Yeah, I found that just working with members over the years that it's really based on your personality, like whether you're more like creative and artsy or more scientifically driven and you like numbers. Yeah. The people that tend to like the numbers tend to like, love it. They love the accessibility. It tells them exactly where they are. It creates certainty for them. And I definitely get that. And then the opposite side is like, I'm not wearing any technology. I'm one with the earth. Like I don't need technology intervening my earth experience. Right. So then you have probably somewhere in the middle is where I am, to where I will use devices to manage and measure my progress, because we say in business, right? What doesn't get measured doesn't get managed, and what doesn't get managed doesn't get done. And so if we are just loosely going out there and not trying to educate ourselves, that's the key word. We say in our mission statement, we vow to educate, influence, and inspire. Education is the key word here, because if you're using this technology as a crutch so you don't have to learn it, and you can just look at a screen and it can just tell you things and suggest what to do, and you're just mindlessly doing that. Well, I don't think it's going to be something that is actually going to be positive for your mental health in the long run, because a good professor or a good teacher, they don't want you to keep taking the class. They want you to graduate. They want you to not need them anymore. So if you have this obsessive, compulsive relationship with whether it's a food log or whether it's any numbers in general, weight, the scale is the old school 90s version of, Whoop Fitness and Oura and all that, right? So there's always been this obsession with numbers, and you've got to know yourself. It all goes back to that, like know yourself, know whether you're on that artsy scale or the science scale, and kind of use that as a simple gauge.
I'm just laughing because as you're saying that, I'm thinking of my husband, who I think the only time I've ever seen him take off his Whoop is to change the band. That smelled profusely because he literally wears it every single day. He does. And all of like our brand new baby pictures with Stevie, he's got his Whoop on. And I was like, you couldn't think to take that off for pictures, really? He's like, I got to track it.
Well, it makes sense. He's senior director of operations for media companies.
He probably would have had like a big tan line if he did. So maybe it's better. He kept it on.
For sure. And that was his argument. I was like, fair enough, but no.
So the way I personally use it is to educate myself. So I'll wear a Whoop, although the membership, options are tough for me because I only need it for 3 days at a time every now and then.
Yeah.
And so same with food logs. The technology I do use to track my way I manage my fitness journey. Well, this year it's 3 tangible goals that are all performance based. So 200 and 250 camps, but I went to the top end and I'm trying to do 250 this year. To run, to break my record in a 5K, which was currently 18:54. And so I want to break that this year and then do 10 muscle ups. So the way I manage it is, and then I keep track through the Burn app and I'll keep track through my run. I will like log my miles and make sure that it's keeping all my miles so that I can manage my progress. It's pretty easy to manage 10 muscle ups. It's either you can do it or you can't do it. So I got the Burn app for one, Matt my run for my other goal, and then, you know, obviously Morgan for the last goal.
bar.
I was like, hey, how you doing on those muscle ups?
Yeah.
You know, which is not good so far. I can't do.
All right, so we got to keep you accountable.
Yeah,
is
keep
what we're
me
saying.
accountable.
Burn Nation, help keep Devan accountable.
Yeah, I got to start actually doing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
My max rep's 5 ever, by the way.
All right.
And that was when I was like in the best shape of my life. And I'm going back there now, though. I feel good on my
Well, you're
my
crushing
personal
that
journey.
5K.
Yeah.
Mine's a 21 minute. So maybe we could motivate each other.
You like to run too, don't you?
I love to run.
We should do some hard 5Ks together.
Yeah, let's
That'd be
do it.
fun. For sure.
Beat that 18.
Nice.
Yeah, let's get it.
Oh, the 5K tour. I remember it. So does DJ probably
Oh,
really
yeah,
well.
I do.
I like to do
Was that
spontaneous
2018, you did like a 5K tour all over. Everywhere we went, you found a 5K.
Yeah, I sometimes will, and Morgan sometimes gets upset with me for, not upset, that's a strong word. She just gets like, really, Devan? Like when I create whiplash, which is like telling someone what to do or having a game plan and not communicating appropriately. I'm working on it. I'm getting much better, aren't I?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting much better. But it was like just kind of on the whim.
It was just
we
a
went
phase
out
in
to,
your life. And
Yeah.
it was a great phase for you.
It was great.
was.
I like to be
Love that.
adventurous, spontaneous.
I'm pretty sure your hair was also bleached blonde.
It
so
was.
just a phase. Just a phase. Okay, we are moving on to our next member question. And this comes from Claire at our Lake Norman, North Carolina location. What are some techniques you've all utilized to help with recovery? All right, who wants to start? Recovery. It's important.
I can start.
'Kay.
I have a couple different things. I think my recovery journey it's a journey. I think you're always like learning new tips. I could definitely improve my recovery. I'm one of those people that like after camp, I take noon camp. And so I'm so grateful that it's upstairs from where I work. But then I always have to like go to a meeting or, just eat some lunch or something. But lately I actually this is a plug for Burn On Demand, and I'm going to be very honest about it, but I hadn't done motion on Burn On Demand. We've had Burn On Demand now for almost a year, and I had never done it. And I just recently did the hips mobility for motion. And let me tell you, it is a game changer because I run so much. And so I get all tight in my hips and I've done nothing about it. So I'm just complaining to my husband about and he's like, why don't you stretch?
Yeah.
Like, maybe you need to stretch. And so that's lately something that I've been doing. And then I've also been better about taking my supplements consistently. I know in a little bit we're going to talk about creatine, but I swear that that's also helped me a lot with, I don't stretch as much as I should, but I also will say I don't feel like I'm as sore the next day with how much I don't stretch because I am taking the proper supplements.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now in my recovery journey.
I like it.
Yeah, no, that's good. I had a stint where I was just really into yoga and I felt so good doing it. And then you just kind of fall off. And then I'm like, man, that's right. I felt so good when I was doing that. Why don't I keep doing it?
Yeah.
But yeah, just stretching, honestly, and foam rolling. That's something that my husband, Charlie, had always done at home. And he just would always talk about the benefits of it and how he would feel so much better the next day. But man, I'm just one of those people where I'm like, a little bit of pain, gonna back off.
You had a home birth, okay? You had a home birth.
Yeah, but the
we gotta channel
adrenaline
that.
kicks in and
Very true.
if I got a baby at the end of some foam rolling, like all that serotonin, then maybe. But man, you hit those quads after a leg day and you're
feeling.
like, yeah, no, I'm good. We're wrapping up here. But man, no, foam rolling has been something that I've been implementing little bits here and there, but it definitely is where I'm finding a lot of recovery.
Deej, I have seen you overcome yourself so many times over almost nearly a decade. And I think there's the next level. I feel like
foam
you're just
rolling?
telling yourself things of the past that have always been the past. And there's a future DJ where it's like, bring that on. I'm not scared of that pain. Like,
I think
come
it's the
on.
ice bath. He
Dude,
told me, he was like, just get in the ice bath. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it.
You got to
I'm
come
good, though.
over. You got
all
to come
these
to the
things
plunge.
are for mental resilience more than anything, including working out, in my opinion. This is for mental resilience more than anything. That's the number one benefit is I believe I can become somebody that can do hard things, and life is hard. So you got to be.
All right,
Well,
I'll go
thank you,
next.
Devan.
So
I believe in you.
my recovery journey is also, it ebbs and flows. And I think it's one of those things for me that does fall to the back burner when times are busy. But I have done a lot better job of keeping things in my rotation, including yoga. So we have someone about every 2 to 3 weeks come over and do a yoga session with Devan and I. And we do it at our house intentionally, because when we do it like in the gym, at our own gym, I can't let my mind go. Like I can't actually let it be exactly in the place that it is. That's probably one of my downfalls, is just the mental strength of like drowning out the outside world and the to-do list. So it's been really helpful to be able to do that with somebody just one-on-one in our home. So recovery, I always do a post-workout protein shake. I'm very thankful. We also have a smoothie bar at the Lake Norman gym. So I do plant protein and I put creatine in there, and just to give my body what it needs after it works out, I'll make sure I'm feeding those muscles with some good protein. And then Devan and I recently got a plunge, so a cold plunge, and then we have a sauna. So I would say those two things are both recovery and for my mental wellness.
Yeah, I know you hit the 360 approach, and I'm glad, Morgan, that you said that recovery is based in nutrition, because that's where it starts. There's no amount of foam rolling or yoga, or there's no amount of myofascial release that is going to help you recover your muscle, like protein and good nutrition and good hydration, giving your joints and your ligaments the macro and micronutrients that it needs to recover, to repair, and to rebuild. Now, that being said, our whole philosophy at Burn has always been lengthen and strengthen. Like lengthen so that you can create space for strength. Think about it that way. As you are in a deep stretching yoga session like Burn Motion, and you are doing, I've done that with Jeremiah too, the hip opener.
Yeah.
It feels amazing. And if you're focused on creating space and that's your intention, well, not only does that help keep you present in the moment so you don't have to worry about the dog barking or the cell phone going off, but also you actually are literally physically making, not just metaphorically, you're physically making space. You're opening up your body, you're stretching your muscle fiber, you're wound up, muscle fiber and Golgi tendons that you just are always contracted constantly. You've got to have space to have those things breathe. And stretching for 10 seconds, here and there on one muscle group isn't going to do anything at all. Yeah. You've got to hold deep, static stretches. You've got to allow yourself to do what we call in Burn Motion, like flex and breathe, like almost like you're in this tense position and you have to be present enough to breathe in deep, think about making space for the muscle you're working on, and breathing out and just relaxing. And that constant breath work also, I think has other benefits outside of just, the pure physical lengthening. If you have a great yoga instructor like Rachel, she helps you tap into, that's the yoga instructor that comes to our house and then does our flagship here at Burn Boot Camp. She's very popular in the Charlotte area, does a lot of cool events and things like that. She brings an energy and she brings a spirituality to the session that allows you to be more present and it increases or accelerates rather the journey to find yourself. And so I've really enjoyed that part of it, the spiritual part of yoga and Burn Motion. And we've always had yoga as a part of Burn, whether it's been called Motion or Burn Yoga. It's changed over the years. It's now Motion. And I just really encourage everybody to, you can sign up for the Burn Bootcamp on demand app, and you can really get into those sessions, whether it's foam rolling, a deep stretch motion with Jeremiah or one of our other instructors, or just simply static stretching on your own. There's some just basic recovery. I'm just here to stretch my muscles. Devan, stop talking to me about Zen and breathing deep and feeling my spirit animal.
Yeah.
So that is my take on it. And but I do want to emphasize one more time the importance of hydration and recovery.
Yeah.
And protein. So like 100 G's, it stands for 100 grams of protein, and 100 Z's, 100 ounces of water. That's what we say. Like those are the two first small wins that you can.
G's and C's,
G's
baby.
and C's, 100 G's, 100 C's.
Okay. 100 G's, 100 Z's. Are you getting in 100 grams of protein and ounces of water? Ask yourself that right now. And if not, start there with your recovery. And then you can gradually build in more of the routines that we all just talked about. So cool. All right. We're going to myth or fact. You guys ready? I'm going to go around the room.
This is my favorite
Myth
one of all
or
time, by the way.
fact?
I
It's
love
my
it.
favorite one.
And this is one of my favorite topics. Lifting heavy weights makes women bulky.
There it
Myth
is.
or fact?
I feel like
Devin.
Bird Nation already knows that this is a big old myth.
I think our marketing team has done a really good job of educating everyone in Bird Nation and obviously all of our trainers. So who wants to go around?
I'd love to hear what lifting heavy weight means to you guys from a female perspective. And from a male perspective and a trainer perspective, I would just want to add to the conversation that my goal always was to increase the adoption of hypertrophic strength training or hypertrophy, where it is a certain rep range, 8 to 15 reps, where you're lifting to failure and you're gaining the maximum amount of muscle that you can, adapting the muscle fiber as much as you can in the moment, lifting like an athlete. This was my mission at the core when I started Burn, was to take my Central Michigan Chippewa programming, my San Francisco Giant programming, and bring strength to the everyday athlete who needed it the most. And the last thing that I'll say is, I am proud of having a brand that has in large part been a conversation since the beginning of strength building in women, especially. I think that's really important to me. And I'm glad that, and I'm honored that Burn is at the table for accelerating that conversation in our country. Because if you're here and you're in the US, you don't realize it, but everywhere else is 10 years at least behind the health and fitness awareness that we have here in the United States. So maybe Trish, you can start and kick it to DJ and kick it back to Morgan on just what does it mean? I mean, you could do myth and fact if you want to, but I think the cat's
we all know.
The cat's out of the bag.
This is a myth.
Cat's out of the bag here. Definitely. I always tell my members before you start that, hey, if you wake up tomorrow and you look like the Incredible Hulk after my push and pull session,
You can
fire
fire
me
me.
right away and I'll still train you for
I've
3
used
years.
that line too several times with members.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. Rewind 10 years ago, I believed in this. I thought that this was a fact. I was like, I cannot lift more than 10 pounds. Like if I do a bicep curl, I'm going to get just so bulky. But I will say, I'm very much like, fitness to me it helps me with my mental game, and it's a mental a battle in my head all the time. And I would say over the past couple of years, I actually started to overcome this because I've had people around me, the people at this table. DJ is a beast in the gym and she pushes me, but just having positive people around me to show that like, you got to stop that negative. Because I mean, I'm scrolling on Instagram and there's these people that are not credible that are telling other people like me, like, don't do this because you're going to get bulky, but it's not true. So I think, again, surrounding yourself with people who actually know the truth, have that information. Like our trainers across Burn Nation are really good about feeding us the information that we need. And so it gave me the, I guess, confidence to start actually my journey of strength training. And I now love lifting heavy. I've been a member at Burn Boot Camp for 8.5 years. I've always worked out. I've always been into fitness, but this is the thing that I've stuck with the most. And I've seen more transformation over the last, I would say, 2 years with me starting to actually lift heavy and starting to go for those PRs and picking up the heavy weights. I now curl with 30-pound dumbbells if I'm doing a hammer curl, and I'm not scared about it. I'll pick them up. I don't care. Like, come at me. Like,
Let's go.
Let's go. But like, I actually was just doing Burn on Demand the other day live, and I like saw my muscles in the camera and I was like, it works, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, I'm leaner. And I'm not I wouldn't say I'm bulky. I just have muscle, and I'm proud of those muscles because it's hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like I'm sweating like I sweat more in the gym than I do when I'm on a run when it's just a strength day, getting my heart rate up. So I think you just have to overcome whatever those things are and make sure you're unfollowing the people that are giving you false information. And then I'll also say, because I do love to run, lifting heavy, especially I love a really strong leg day too. It's helped me run faster. So like there's just so many different benefits from a mental perspective to then other fitness goals that you have, that lifting heavy, just don't listen to the negative. It'll make you bulky because it won't.
And let's not forget you carry around like 2 kids at a time, you know, one on your back, one on your, on your hip, and maybe a backpack. Like we have to lift heavy. We got to be strong for just motherhood.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And just to feel good in general. And I think too, it also like boils down to like when you're watching these bodybuilders, like, dude, like we're not working on our traps and like all of these other muscles that like make men bulky. Like we're focusing on the things that women typically want to see in themselves: toned arms, like toned core, a large booty. So like those are all the things that like lifting heavy is going to get you, but you have to do that. And same with Trish. I love working out with her in the gym because we're like, heavier. No, you go heavier. Go heavier on that one. And it's fun to have that, back and forth. But same, like I thought it was, okay, I'm only going to go on the cardio days because that's where I'm going to get lean. I'm going to get toned, and I'll lift some because obviously, I want to come on those days and like still continue to build my body. But now I've kind of flipped the script. I do enjoy the strength and conditioning days, but I find myself really craving a good upper body day, a good lower body day, because I always feel way better. Yeah. It's like, I'm like picturing a car. Was it like the pistons are firing? I'm like, that's what I feel like when I'm there lifting heavy. Like everything is just going and it feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, hypertrophy is something I remember hearing very early on and learning it when I became a certified personal trainer for the brand. But lifting heavy does look different for everybody, right? Because hypertrophy is failure. And so the weight that I'm going to use to fail could be different than what DJ uses, what Trish uses, and of course what Devan uses. So, just because you are still on the 15s doesn't mean you're not going to be able to hit hypertrophy and fail and do the things that maybe Trish is doing with a 30. But it's all about that. It's all about pushing yourself relative to what it looks like to fail. And I can remember early, or members that are just coming in, they are picking up the lighter weights and they're doing a lot of reps, and you have to kind of slow them down and educate them on, what hypertrophy is and why that's better than a bunch of like muscular endurance exercises where you're doing a bunch of reps. So, I think lifting heavy for me is relative, but it's continuing to push myself. And sometimes I will go for the lighter weights because maybe that's what I did last time. And the thing I love the most about Burn is Ashley Beasley or trainers coming right up to me and is like, nope, I'm looking at your face right now and you can do heavier, or your neighbors pushing you and motivating you to do it better. But for me, strength, you guys nailed it. Like it's so much more important to me to be strong than to be skinny. And I want that for the longevity of my health, right? For my bone health and just for my posture, for me just being able to grow old with my children and be strong enough for them. So that's my focus. And so I'm never worried about getting bulky. If you're going to get bulky, it's because of your nutrition.
Yes.
And also think about the way that we program. Like I'll put my trainer hat on for a moment. When we sit down and we program our workouts, well, we never do the same thing twice. The body's always forced to adapt. But then you also have 3 strength training based protocols per week and 3 conditioning based. And so when you're talking about, the goal here is to be faster, to be stronger, to be more athletic, to have more endurance, like all the things that you can gain. So you don't want to just be able to just bench press, right? Yeah. Like I want you to be strong in your bench press. I want you to be strong in your squat. I want you to be able to run a half a mile in 3 to 4 minutes, like or 5 minutes. I want you to be able to do double unders consecutively, come back the next day, focus on a push and pull where you're pulling and pushing your body weight or more, right? So the way that we program and doing so in all planes of motion, both on the strength and conditioning days, what happens is, you're kind of staying in hypertrophy and you'll kind of live there. To your point, Morgan, when members first come in, they'll go through an adaptation phase where it is more muscular endurance. It is more adaptation, it is more isolation. It is like we need to get them to the point where they are graduating to hypertrophy, which usually takes depending on the exercise history, takes anywhere from 3 months to 3 weeks sometimes, right? But usually not longer than 90 days if we're doing it constructively. And then you move into the hypertrophy phase, but then you want to move out of that and you want to move into power phase. So you might see some days where we are going like heavy lift, right, followed by like, let's say a heavy squat followed with a jump squat right away.
Yeah.
And now you have this hypertrophy and power that's even that next level. And so just a little 2 cents on how it's actually programmed so that you come out of all of that looking and feeling like an athlete. Add some lengthening in, like we were just talking about. Now you're pain-free looking like that. And that's what's really important. You can get fit looking and feel terrible on the inside.
Yep.
So
that's for sure.
Or as Devan likes to say, show muscles.
Yeah, show the beach muscles, baby. Just as long as I got good biceps and pecs, I'm good to go. People think I'm a fit guy.
Oh my goodness. All right. So the message before we move on is don't be afraid to pick up the heavy weights. And listen, if you fail after 2 or 3 reps, then maybe you do go down a little bit. But Devan, remind us of that rep range that we're looking for.
8 to 15 reps.
8 to 15 reps.
You want to be at failure with all your lifts in that rep range, no more than 15. And I'm talking about failure, people.
Yeah. Like you've got to drop the weights and you can't finish the complete rep.
Like gravity takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going down.
You're going down. Just go down slowly. Go down slowly and
Don't
control.
hurt yourself. That's right.
We don't need to drop the weights in the floating floor. Our franchise partners will get mad at me.
All right. So moving into our next member Q&A, Ben from our Lake Norman location. How do you feel your body before, during, and after camp? And does the time of day matter? This is a good question. I think a lot of people have probably a similar question about fueling your body properly. I know a lot of people have questions about, do I need to eat before I work out, after I work out? You know, do I need to get, how many grams of protein do I need to get in post-workout? So let's talk about it. Let's dive in.
99% of people don't have to worry.
Yeah.
If you're getting your 100 G's and your 100 G's and Z's, protein and water, and your calorie allotment so that you can stay in a slight deficit every week, that's all 99.999% of people actually have to do. And you don't need to worry about it. My personal experience is my body works best when my first meal is afternoon. So I'll do an intermittent fasting routine.
Even on the days you work out?
Yes.
In the morning?
Yes. And it also works out for my lifestyle. So I found that to be the best style for me. But at the end of the day, whether you like to intermittent fast, whether you like to have your 3 traditional standard meals with 2 snacks in between, whether you like to go on the Mediterranean diet, whatever you'd like to do, is I'm not going to play this like game of diet wars. It's because they all have commonality, and the commonality and the common ground is calories in, calories out.
Yeah.
Number 1. Number 2 is composition of calories, protein, fat, carbohydrate. And if your calories are over, you can eat 7,500 calories worth of chicken breast and be a 120-pound female, and you're going to gain weight. It's not, your body can't use all of that energy. It's excess. Yeah. And body fat is where we store excess energy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for me, it's always, or over time, it's been about how do I feel after I eat certain meals. So really just dialing in how much and what foods make me feel my best. And that's what's guided me on like when I eat and how much I eat. And I have to eat when I wake up. Like I'm hungry and I can't fast like him. So we're obviously completely different. But he usually has a meal later in the night and I can't. I'm like full. So it's just different time frames that I'm eating and you're eating. So I think any of our answers here and advice is really what works uniquely for us. And so I would just double in on focusing on what feels good for you. Look at the principles Devan talked about, but what foods are making you feel the best? Are you getting enough protein in, enough water in? And when you do it and how you do it is really based on your lifestyle.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, Morgan. I listen to my body. I always just approach every day of making sure I'm going to hit my protein goals. Protein, and then obviously from a carb perspective for energy, because going through the day, I just need to make sure I'm fueling my body the proper way. But I have gone through so many different kind of ups and downs of how I'm fueling my body and what I've learned works best for me is, again, focusing on protein, focusing on my supplements, and not overthinking it. I can't get in my head about it, because then I'll think about calories, and then that's a whole downward spiral for my mental game. So for my biggest tip, again, if you're somebody that's just like, there's so much information out there, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
G's and Z's. That's all you got to focus on at first. Then if you want to get, you want to play a little bit more, then go for it, but get the basics down first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just making it as simple as possible. I think that's the other thing too. The barrier there is like, I do use a protein shake to supplement at least 40-ish of the grams of the 100 that I'm trying to get in within a day. Because if I don't, then that's just, I'm a busy mom. That's even more meal prep. And
a lot of eating too.
Also that. I'd
really
rather drink
is.
it.
There's very much hype for the average everyday person on timing, on when you should eat, what you should eat, why you should eat it. And 99% of the population doesn't need to worry about that. Who does need to worry about that are like bodybuilders, professional athletes. You got, like when I played ball, you would carb up specifically about 48 hours before you would go play.
Yeah.
So our coaches are like, boys, did you eat your pasta? Like, did you, right? Like, make sure you have, because that's that explosive energy that we need for our sport, and we need to have it at the right time, which is why you see marathon runners using supplements as they go at the right time. Our friend Jim, who does Ironman, telling me about his nutrition regimen as he's doing a 8-hour, 9-hour event. You are specifically eating so that you can accelerate for a given amount of time. So I wouldn't worry about it too much if you're somebody who, timing that is, if you're somebody who is hitting a stalling point. I won't call it a plateau, because it's just your inability to make the adjustment. It's not an actual plateau. Don't use that outward excuse or blame like this plateau because you've been doing it for a while. It's just your inability at the moment to make the right adjustment, or your will behind doing what you know you need to do. And so then you can maybe start to look at, okay, can I up my protein? Can I bring my carbohydrate down? Can I eat at different times of the day? Maybe intermittent fasting might work for me. And you can explore that. But I think so many people jump from like step 0 to step like 95, and there's 95 steps, 94 that we need to get to first before we start playing with intermittent fasting and complicated carb cycling. Let's stop going to McDonald's first.
Yeah. The basics.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Great question, Ben. All right. So guys, we've talked about it a couple times, supplements here and there, but also creatine we teased in the beginning of the episode. So now we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the science behind creatine. Do you need it? When do you need it? How much do you need? So we are excited. We have our own creatine that we launched earlier. Well, gosh, when did we launch this, guys? Last year?
Yeah, I want to say end of last year.
I'm like, what
I feel
month
like
are
a
we
year
in?
has gone
and
by
when
so
has it
fast.
been? Either way, it is part of our Burn Nutrition lineup, which is super exciting because we believe that it is a essential supplement that you should have in your lineup, whether you're a male or a female, which I say that because I can remember the days where I thought creatine would bloat me or, make me retain water. So I've gone through my fair share of myths when it comes to creatine. So I remember when Matt Morris, our VP who oversees all of our nutrition, he kind of came to me and he started encouraging me to take it and potentially add it to the lineup. And I remember thinking, but wait, should females be taking it? So I've learned a lot over the time. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think, are you two going to scoop it?
I was going to say, guess this is perfect timing because yesterday or the day before, our creatine ran out, and I've literally, since we launched this, every single day. And so Trish was like, hey, I didn't get mine in yet either. I'm like, okay, so we dry scooping?
Yeah.
Trish has a dry scoop idea. So you guys are welcome to join us if you'd like to, do this little dry scoop here. Trish.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I also take creatine every day.
Yeah, same. I took mine this morning with my shake, and that's what I've found to be helpful is like, you got to get it into the routine. Otherwise you do forget,
We just like shenanigans as well.
I know you do.
That's just part of it. That's part of it. So,
but I also, this is how I take my creatine right after
Do
camp.
you really?
It's like part of my routine. I just dry scoop because it's like, it's done. And it's actually really easy to dry scoop. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
it tastes like nothing.
Yeah. Ours is flavorless.
Yeah.
So you can add it to, you can dry scoop it with some water. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Okay. So yeah,
the little
it's
shake technique
flavorless.
there.
So you can put it in your
Oh, yeah.
smoothies. You can put it
That is
in.
easy.
I have some white on my face.
Yeah, it doesn't look good if they didn't know you just did creatine.
Yeah, right. You can add it to our Replenish product, which is a hydration drink. So
The
it's
VP of
super
marketing
easy.
did drugs on the podcast.
Well, I can remember one time, Trish, we were traveling and she, you know, she just started taking it, and it is very important to take it every day because you don't want to miss a bunch of days. It's not good for your body. And so she brought it in like a white baggie, and she I remember we're going through security, and it was like, it's creatine, I promise. So
I got nervous.
I'm pretty sure they probably had to test it with one of those strips. But all right, Devin, do you want to share a little bit about what creatine is?
Yeah, you know, it was inevitable for us to produce creatine because it is the most studied supplement of all the supplements, and it has gotten a rap for being like a testosterone boosting thing for men.
Yeah.
It's not true. It affects men and women in almost identical ways, but we all produce creatine inside of our body. You can also, it's found in the muscle cells, and you can also get it from alternate sources outside of your body as well. So we synthesize it from amino acids, which amino acids are the building blocks of protein, as most of us know if they have been following the podcast, mainly in the liver and in the kidneys. It's found in dietary, it's found in food, red meat, fish is a lot of places where we will find it. And it's traditionally made popular by bodybuilders and athletes because what creatine actually does is basically gives like a jolt of energy to the ATP cycle, which is how we produce and manufacture and output energy in the body. And it really helps accelerate short bursts, right? So like if you're trying to push through some weight and get a PR, right? Creatine is going to really help you. And when you push through the weight and you get a PR, what you're doing is recruiting more muscle fiber. When you recruit more muscle fiber, you break down the muscle in the moment, in which if you're doing your G's and your Z's, you're gonna then be able to have enough protein again to then break down into amino acid, and then therefore replacing the creatine in the muscle cells. So that's essentially how it works. I had to do a little bit of research just to bring up some of the more nerdy stuff.
Yeah. And I was just going to say too, what I've learned in researching this supplement and hearing a lot from, we had Dr. Abby Smith on the podcast as well. We also had one of our member summits, and listening to her talk about, cause she studies it a lot. And she talked a lot about cognitive performance. So it's really good for brain health, and it's also good for even for pregnancy and postpartum, or someone that's going through a cycle. So those are two things that I think aren't talked about a lot because there's a lot of understudy in women and how supplements impact women, which is what her mission is. And so we'll make sure to link Dr. Abby's resources as well, because those are the two things that I was like, oh, I thought of it always as muscle, building lean muscle or recovery. But those two things I think are very important, which is why I've been encouraging my mom to get on it. Because as she gets older, I want her to have that cognitive performance. I want her to have good bone health. I want her to, if she's going through postmenopause, things like that. So we'll make sure to share a lot, but those are some great benefits that I think go unnoticed.
Yeah. And there's a ton of studies on what it does to the muscle. There's just becoming a lot of more studies on what it's doing for cognitive ability. And so just to kind of wrap this up, everybody should take 3 to 5 grams per day of creatine, and don't miss a day. And it takes a little bit to assimilate too. So this isn't something you're just going to get on one time, and feel it. It's not like pre-workout. Like pre-workout is caffeine based. You take it, you use it, it's pretty much gone. You burn through it. Creatine is going to be this you want to continually replenish and give your body what it needs so you can have the energy to go a little bit harder in your workouts. And I've already explained the pathology of that once you start lifting heavier. And just to kind of keep that going, once you actually start building more muscle, and creatine being a part of that muscle building process, your basal metabolic rate goes up. And when you're burning more calories at rest, I hate to say this, but it's true. The cookie and the ice cream doesn't hurt as much when you have more muscle mass to burn through it and to metabolize it. Yeah. Muscle requires you to burn more energy than body fat. So listen, I'm not going to be as knowledgeable as a PhD on creatine. My knowledge really stops at how you use it for athletic performance. And I just want to say that the science behind creatine is there.
Yeah.
There's people we've had on the podcast that Morgan said they can go much, much deeper than we can, but our mission is to make creatine consumption on a regular basis normal for everyone, but especially normal for our female members.
Yeah, normal and affordable. And ours is $19.99 for 30 servings, and it comes with a scooper that's 5 grams. So like Devan said, 3 to 5 grams is what is recommended. So you can buy it online on our shop or in gym if you attend one of our work or one of our locations. So you guys are both on it, right?
Yep. I've been on it for like 6 months. And I will say, like, my experience, I do the cognitive stuff. I have noticed a difference, but more importantly, the way that my performance in the gym. So like I had struggled with my pull-ups, just a really fast story. I hadn't got them back after my 3rd kid. I was really just like bummed. I was like, man, I'm only at 1 unassisted pull-up. Obviously it takes consistency, and you still have to go to the gym, and you still have to do the work on your muscles, on my back muscles to get there. But once I started taking creatine, I noticed I was improving how many reps I could get in a row. So I went from 1 to 5 unassisted pull-ups within like 2.5 months. Nice. And again, I'm not crediting all that to taking creatine. I'm not saying you're going to take creatine, you're going to be all these pull-ups, but I do think it did help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely felt a massive difference in just my longevity too. When I was in my workouts, like I wasn't getting gassed so quickly, especially with lifting heavy. But I didn't know a lot about creatine. Honestly, I didn't know anything about creatine until we had introduced it into Burn, and everybody was like, you should take it. It's really good. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take it. Peer pressure.
The cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, they are. They're doing it, and they're feeling really good doing it too. So hop on the train.
It has been one of the best sellers. I don't know, Morgan, if out of our best sellers where it ranks, but it is on the shelf, off the shelf in the gyms. And so, like we said, get it online or get it in gym, but get it because you are going to benefit. You're spending your hard work, your money, your time, your effort, your energy, all the things, all the sacrifices you make to work on yourself. You want to make sure that every minute of every workout is maximally beneficial for you. And that's one way to do it. And
then can I also just say, if you guys are listening and you have questions, drop them. If you're watching it on YouTube, drop them in the comments, because we can go back and look and just make sure. Cause I know again, marketing, we get a lot of DMs from our members just asking about creatine. So if you have those burning questions, let us know before they leave your brain.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. All right. We've got our last member Q&A. So Peyton from Kenosha, Wisconsin asks us, how do we track our personal goals? So not just fitness, but our personal dreams. Ooh.
This is a good one.
I know it is a good one. I know Devan's going to have.
I know you
this
have
is
a
what
lot
I
to
think
say.
about all the time.
Yes, you're good at this. And we actually did a podcast on this with Ansley. So it's several episodes back, but we were talking about it because we were doing our book club, and we talk about this in the book, in the new book that is now out. And you know, we talked a lot about North Star goals and then working your way backwards on that. And so for me, I'll just start really quickly. How do I track my personal goals? I do it towards the beginning of the year. I'm not like a big New Year's resolution, but I do like to reflect back on the year. And I like to say, what are the goals, or what do I want my life to look like a year from now? And I have different categories, different buckets. And then it's like, okay, so if this is my goal, what do I need to start doing? And then what do I need to stop doing right now? And that's something that's right in my notes on my phone, and I go back to it often. So, you know, for an example, by the end of 2024, I want to be able to sit in the cold plunge for 2 minutes. And I'm not there yet, and I'm okay with that. I just know that I have to work at it every single day, every single week, every single month, or else I won't get to that goal. So what am I starting doing? What have I stopped doing? And that's just one way, one method for me to kind of assess personal. But the buckets are personal and professional. So it's worked well for us.
Yeah, I'm going to let DJ and Trish go, and
then you'll wrap us up.
Because I'm still thinking about what I want to say.
All right.
Because I want to make sure it's maximally beneficial for people.
Yeah.
And I also am drawing inspiration from you guys as well.
All right.
And no, I try to keep it very simple. I tell other people about my personal goals, or like my professional goals, or even fitness goals, whatever goals I have, so that they can help keep me accountable and check in over time. And then I try to keep it somewhere visible, to your point, Morgan, whether it's in my notes, or maybe it's even like written on a little Post-it note that's inside my closet at home, so I can see it every day. And I don't forget that that's something that I'm striving for, even if it seems really out of reach. And even if it takes me a little while to get there, a goal might not happen in a year. It might happen in 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So those are my little tips.
I like the accountability for sure. When you tell somebody, then you're like, oh,
you can't back down. Oh yeah.
I feel like I have like macro goals, and then I have like micro strategies to get to those goals. So like, and then it's also like 1 year and 5 year, which is really funny because I'm wondering if I pulled that from inspiration from how Morgan leads our leadership team and like our company goals. But that's kind of how I like, you know, if I'm going to look at professionally where I want to be in 5 years, what are the small things that I can do to get to those things? I know there's different parts of our business that I want to educate myself more on. So how do I take time? Because I mean, I'm busy, a working mom. How do I find time where I can multitask? So when I'm getting ready every morning, I listen to a podcast, and it's an educational podcast. It might be on franchise development. It might be on marketing. It might be out something fitness, something that's going to help me learn about, you know, the world that we live in. And you know, I intend to stay with Burn Bootcamp as long as they'll have me, and how I can continue to grow here to reach that 5 year goal. And then from, you know, just my physical, I think I obviously have a family. So looking at personally where I want to be in 5 years with them, it's also, you know, what am I doing every day with my kids to make sure that I'm not falling off track to the type of mom that I want to make sure that I am? Because in 5 years, my kids are going to be old. Like they're going to be they're going to be teenagers, which is crazy. So just making sure that I'm hitting those marks. And then physically, I have goals as well. So what am I doing? Though that's more of like a yearly thing that I kind of reevaluate every year. It's like reset. Where am I feeling kind of similar to you, Morgan? I think it's mainly at the beginning of the year. It's like, what do I want to work on this year? This year to me, it was strength was all that I wanted to go after. It's like, how can I improve my strength? It might be different next year. So I guess I kind of look at it at different tiers depending on like where I guess I see myself, what the vision is. Yeah.
Well, you guys are the top 1% because Morgan knows this. We actually asked this question in our last keynote on stage in Chicago at the YoungCon, the franchise conference. We asked how many people right now, if I asked you to come up here and read your goals off a piece of paper, would actually have a piece of paper and could walk up here and do it. And there was about, I don't know, 300 people there. 2 people raised their hand out of 300 people. And DJ, you've been in places where I've asked the same and similar question. Every time we go to a gym and I get a chance to talk to people, I'm always talking to them about goal setting. And almost nobody does it, but everybody knows what goal setting means, and nobody does it. It's become this thing that you've heard so many times that it's just white noise. And so when we wrote the Burn book and we were signed by Hachette to do so, I knew that we had an opportunity to go out to the masses and really teach them what I've always believed in and tried to teach people, but never really put on paper anywhere until now. And so I just wanted to just explain a little bit around how we teach to set goals, no matter whether they're personal, physical. It's like all of the goals, right? Because we have multiple pies to our life. And so in the Burn book, you can find this. There's 5 pillars. There's burn, achieve, nourish, believe, and connect. And this has to do with the achieve section, which is all around how to set goals. Morgan mentioned North Star. I'll just try to give a framework for somebody that might be lost. They might not have a framework to set any goals. And I'll caveat this with, this is just a starting ground, and the way that you set goals works for you, and the way that you set goals works for you, and the way that you set goals works for me. I tend to be very, very, very focused and adhere pretty precisely to this framework because I've always believed in it. It's helped me get to where I am. So I wanted to share it with people. And it starts with like the pieces of the lifestyle. We call it the Burn lifestyle, but that's because we're Burn and this is what we try to teach people. But take Burn away, it's just a lifestyle, right? It's your body, it's your mind, your emotion, your spirit, your relationships, your time, your work, and your money. And there's 8 pieces that really make you you. And I would argue that you could have all of those pieces broken down into many more pieces. But if you were to distill it down to the 8 things that are really important in life that create health and happiness and fulfillment and prosperity, it's those things. Okay, so now if there's 8 buckets, that means now there's 8 opportunities to set a goal. And so what we do is we have this one kind of overarching visionary goal that's 10 to 20 years out. It could be 5 years even if 10 to 20 years is daunting for you. But we call it North Star. And this is the vision that you have for your life. But it's not just the vision you have, but it's also the vision for your life you don't want. Because we think it's more powerful when you have something pulling you toward the future or something that you do want versus something that you don't want, that kind of pushes you in a motivational sense from behind, like an experience that you had in your past that you never want to experience again, that was so negatively embossed with this energy that you remember it, and it might be subtle to other people, but it screams out to you and you want to get away from that as fast as you can. That's useful, and so is that big vision that you have for yourself. But having the big North Star, that's just a directional conversation. Like at Burn Boot Camp, we talk about having 10,000 locations. This is a directional conversation. If that happens or not, we're going in that direction. And that's what the North Star push and pull goals. I know what I don't want. I know what I do want. Let's now try to have some activity that can get us closer to it. And this is where the 8 pieces of the pie come in. And then I just teach in the book to have one area or one goal in each area every day that you execute. So if body, mind, spirit, emotionally, all 8, have something that you wrote down that's tangible that you could do every day, that's repeatable. This is what our routines are. This is what a habit becomes. And if you start to have good habits, they inevitably replace negative ones. And the last thing that I teach is that once you have something that you want to achieve on a daily basis in each one of those buckets, put that on paper. Because there's something, this is why books are written. Like all books lead back to the original book, the Bible, let's say. Okay. And every book is in some way, shape, or form a rendition of that. So the principles that we guide our lives inherently are more understood and more permanent if they're on paper and they're written down in some type of book form. So write it down, write down your North Star. I go deeper in the book on this, guys. So you have to get the book to get every little instruction. But write down your North Star, make it a page or 2. Write down exactly what you're going to do on a daily basis that you think would be positive for your life in each one of those buckets. Read that thing twice a day. Have one more list we call it the issues list on our business, but have one more list that's what's stopping me from getting to these goals on a daily basis. And then keep your goals and then keep what's stopping you on the front and back side of a paper. Read it every single day and update it as needed. And I promise you, if you're not happy or content with the way that your life has worked out, if you structure, even if it's just to get you going and build some momentum, if you structure your life and your daily habits around the things you do want versus what you don't want, focus and you shall find. So
yeah. Good. I knew you were going to hit it.
I
home
know, saving
for
the
us.
best for last.
I've been thinking, we spent 2 years writing the
Yes,
Burn book. So
yes.
I had a lot of time to think about.
We wrote it and then we did the audiobook. So we have read that and talked that book back and forth several times. So it is all in there, guys, like you said. But guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you guys for being here today. I'm excited. This was a good conversation. I know we covered a lot, but a lot of really good stuff. So as a reminder, guys, tag us and let us know how you progressed in your monthly focus in June. How many rounds did you get from the beginning to the end? We love celebrating you. We take pride in the results that you get at Burn Boot Camp. And lastly, purchase your creatine today. You guys heard all the benefits. You guys heard that we all take it, when we take it, how much we take it. So we do challenge you to make that purchase, whether it's online or in the gym, and start having a better recovery. So guys, we're going to end like we always do. Are we ready? 2 claps on 2, 1, 2.
Love that sound.
All right. Bye, guys.